that they're in the best position to win. But we are in a champion select. It is going to be Rek'Sai taken off the board first up. One of PvP Steos' champions removed. Oddie as well, of course, does like that one, as Vladimir is going to be the second, and Siva banned over on the side of Albus.
Yep, so pretty stable band so far. Champions, they're just very strong in the meta. Vlad is very safe. Siva can work in a number of different compositions, and she scales so incredibly well that it is definitely a smart thing to take away from White Lotus. And right now, it doesn't seem like that there's anything too specific other than this next ban, which definitely seems targeted towards Jural.
Jural's Aurelia is going to hit the bench, meaning both Nah and GP are available. Only 2 more bans to go. As Jural's actually taking his time on this last one, they're trying to figure out exactly what the best move is to make.
Now, they could look to ban away the brand, or perhaps they have an answer for it.
Interestingly enough, it is the Gangplank and the Nah being banned away as the final bans for both teams. So you're exactly right. That brand is available. Bard is available. Everything. Oh my goodness. Liquid is going to have a field day.
But Shen has to be the priority right now, because if you are banning away the Nah, now there are very few options that you can pick into the Shen. The Echo has to be the next pickup for Albus, and the thing that they have to consider is whether or not they want to pick it up on this rotation, because bear in mind, Lyon have shown that they can play Echo in the mid lane.
Yeah.
And with Talia still available, a champion that Kira has played multiple times, we know how effective that Echo can be into the Talia. So there are a lot of things right now that Albus need to consider what they want to try and pick up early on.
Well, what they've already done is picked up the Nidalee Jhin combination, do like hitting a spear, then a deadly flourish, and then basically killing someone from that, but stunning them at the same time. I do like it, and a lot of aggression now coming out of the jungle here from PvP Steos. I mean, he's not intimidated by Oddie and his incredible KDA.
Interesting that the Nidalee is coming out this early on in the rotation. You have a lot of poke coming out from Albus right now, which means that the Gragas, the Elise are still readily available. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Elise come out for Lyon Gaming. In terms of the bottom lane, look for something that is pretty good against poke, and Braum can be a very effective tool.
Yeah.
The alternative is to go for something a little bit more on the hard engage side. So if you pair that up with something like a Gragas, then you have an easy way to start off these fights.
Well, look, it's basically exactly what you just said. Gragas and Braum to be picked up. Of course, a very common second rotation amount of picks, especially from Lyon Gaming as well. This team does like to pick them up as, wow, okay. There it is. The Fiora's locked in for Smurf.
Very fast lock in. Looks like they knew exactly what they wanted.
Flashbacks
they
to LYN.
Yeah.
Look, this is the thing. When Smurf was, of course, you know, when Albus NoX was hard random, Smurf was a Fiora player. He was fantastic at the champion. That's Tahm Kench being picked up. So definitely another top-tier support. But Licorice could have gone to Brand, could have gone to Bard. The checklist was available.
Yes.
He threw his checklist out the window, and we're now on a frog. Like, what's happening?
I don't know. Albus just going, hey, we don't care about the playbook anymore. We're just going to pick what we think is strong. And to be honest, it's largely due to the fact that Lyon could go for the Ashe right now. So picking up the Tahm Kench early means if you want to go for the Ashe, then that pick potential of yours is going to be heavily reduced. So this is now forcing Lyon into a decision. Do they want to go for the Lucian?
Yeah.
Do they want to go for the potential Caitlyn that we've seen? They could also consider, just looking at what other AD carries are available, something like the Tristana. But they're, wow.
Oh my God. That is we've got the Gragas Yasuo combo coming in, everyone. And Cogmore's picked up for White Lotus as well.
Oh my word, we got Yasuo.
I love these two picks as well, just because, look, picking Yasuo means that you've got two, basically, I guess, like AD-based solo lanes, meaning that you need some magic damage. What does Cogmore offer? A heck of a lot of magic damage.
Yo, man, the Gragas could go full AP too.
Hey, that's a good point. We've got like 2 for 2 right now.
The question for Albus right now is you can't go Talia, you can't go Mal's, because these control mages are actually really bad into Yasuo. So
blind picking a Yasuo, though, but into Kira? Zaya's just got absolutely no fear.
It's risky. It's definitely very risky.
Just play Annie. I just want to see Kira play Annie. Drop a bear on him.
And he's actually reasonably good into this matchup as well, because the W goes through the shield. But it looks like that Albus are hovering around the Malzahar. Now, Malzahar's not a bad pick at all into the Yasuo. Early on, he is really going to struggle, but he has that lockdown potential. And because the Tahm Kench was picked away on the side of Albus,
I feel like Malzahar would be a great matchup because he can dishy-dashy through all of his voidlings.
While that's true, the wind wall has no effect on the Malzahar. There are no abilities that you can actually wind wall against him. So it does make sense. But from Lyon, they have the double wind wall. So you have not only the Braum shield, but you also have the wind wall. So in terms of denying siege, Lyon's comp is great against the poke that Albus have actually picked themselves up. So we've got some really interesting compositions here. I'm really excited to get into this one because I think we're going to see some great League of Legends.
I think we definitely will, and it's going to be a lot down to this particular matchup. The 80 carries, White Lotus versus A Miracle, 17 KDA versus 7.1, but of course both of these players have the second highest on their team. It's interesting how the KDAs and the power of the score lines actually comes in through the jungle and through the 80 carry position for both of these sides. So we are going to be looking at PvP Steos, we're going to be looking at Oddie, and then White Lotus and A Miracle to try and carry this one through, and we'll see whether the facilitators in the jungle are going to be able to have the impact that they want, because very different roles now. Nidalee versus Gragas, I mean, one wants to be farming out the jungle as quickly as possible, keeping tabs on the enemy Fat Man, and the Fat Man himself wants to be ganking, wants to be killing people and getting his lanes ahead, and we'll see whether he can do it.
I mean, what I'm most excited for are these team fights. I gotta be honest, Atlas. Like the Gragas Yasuo, you have the Braum knockup as well. Yasuo can set him up for himself if he sees an opportunity, but this is going to be great.
It's the dream right now, Vedius. It's the dream as we are under Summoner's Rift for LYN Gaming versus Albus NoX Luna. The final day of the IWCQ group stages. And Smurf, he's got the Fiora as well. I mean, they had the counter picks in both solo lanes on the side of Albus NoX, and it is the Fiora and the Malzahar that have been taken away.
So let's start with the mid lane, because this is an area that I have a big fan of, but we might not have time as Lotus.
He's getting exhausted, has to use the flash, and that is a big deal. He'd happily trade and exhaust for a flash on a Kog'Maw any day of the week. So have a look. 6 minutes, and that one will be off cooldown.
And this is great for Stasios moving forward, because, I mean, in terms of the bottom lane, you don't have much hard crowd control, but the fact that Liquid can get that early level 2, take the tongue lick very early on to apply the stun. Yeah, exactly. The Lickitung to set Stasios up for a gank, and because there's no flash, means that it could be an easy setup for the jungler. So we'll have to keep an eye on Stasios' pathing. He is starting in the top half of the map, likely to rotate round to the bottom. Now, to backtrack to the mid lane, you can see he is going to go for the Fervor of Battle. You could also go for Warlords, but typically the preferred choice is this because of how easy it is to land those basic attacks and stack up the Q. As we mentioned during Champion Select, for Seiya, his wind wall won't be able to block any of these abilities, but it doesn't really matter. It just means that Seiya, during the early levels, is not actually going to max that wind wall. He's not going to bother taking any points in it. He'll just early max the Q. He may even decide to max the E, depending on how aggressive he wants to play. Kira will struggle to actually get the early push off, and honestly, Seiya can be as aggressive as he wants. And to be honest, he doesn't really have that much to fear because of the lack of hard crowd control pre-6. There's no real risk of Stasios getting a successful gank off in the mid. So 1 to 5, this lane is going to be all about Seiya being as aggressive as he wants.
Yeah, and I actually really like it based on the fact that they did know that the Nidalee jungle was there. So knows that there's not a lot of CC coming out of that jungle position. So won't need to be too worried until that level 6 mark, like you said.
And look at how aggressively he's already playing. 12 CS.
Forcing Kira all the way up.
Yep, it's a pretty brutal matchup for most mages against the Yasuo early on, and this is where he builds a lot of his advantages. You just kind of have to weather the storm. You have to deal with the fact that you're not going to get any farm early. You just have to wait until you hit that level 6 mark. You have your wave clearing abilities, and then because Malzahar being that level 6, you actually have a bit of kill pressure that Seiya now has to be more aware of. So he just has to be patient and just not get this early deficit frustrating too much.
Well, we'll see whether he can, as PvP Steos now starting off on his blue buff. Already took down the Rift Scuttler, is farming up very, very quickly. Of course, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that it is an Infernal Drake starting us off. Not a cloudy day today. A little bit more volcanic, I guess.
Yeah, we've actually seen a lot of Cloud Drakes, so it's nice to have a bit more fiery action in this first game.
Well, it's already started. I mean, there's a Yasuo in this game.
I can't believe there's a Yasuo. I never thought that of.
And I
all
can't
of my
believe that we
mid-lane
also
knowledge.
like the composition as well. I mean, I love the fact that they've picked Kog'Maw with it, you know, making up for the lack of magic damage. Like, it's just, it's really cool. And on the side of Albus NoX Luna, and it's very similar. They've got a lot of poke. They're doing a fair bit of damage here towards the bottom side of the map.
I mean, it's good that you bring up the composition because how Kog'Maw fits into this is he's actually got a very solid front line. We talked earlier on about the double wall. You also have a Channel, and you've got a Gragas barrel. So there's actually a huge amount of peel available for the Kog'Maw. And if you're looking at Albus, you sit there and go, oh, well, all they need to do is dive onto the backline. Well, that's great, but you've also got a Yasuo. And if once he gets his 2 items completed, he's now going to become a big threat to your backline as well. Your Jhin.
Not to mention Last Breath is actually a pretty decent peeling tool as well. I mean, if you've got a Kog'Maw that just wants to press W and be a turret, holding them up in the air for a couple of seconds is definitely something that you want.
Precisely. So, I mean, this is actually a pretty good Protect the Kog'Maw composition, but we'll have to see how it works out in action, because that Fiora is really going to be the big deciding factor for Lyon Gaming. If that Fiora gets those 2 or 3 items, if she's able to just weave her way through all of these annoying disengage abilities, then that Kog'Maw is really going to have a difficult time, because there's no way he's going to be able to out-peel that Grand Duelist.
Yes. Well, Kira, utilizing that spell shield. Saya's taking a heck of a lot of damage. Needs to work up that flow to get that shield back up. Does so, but still taking a fair bit of damage.
He's playing the matchup well for the time being. You can see now Kira getting a couple extra levels, feeling more aggressive as Stagos comes in for the gank.
Yeah, Saya's going to use him as a way out. As there's the flash body slam. Stagos gets ignited as well, but Saya's very low. Nice wind wall. He's going to stop the last couple of auto attacks there, as Arce had already moved to the mid lane, and Licorice coming down from the top side. Where have you been?
He went for a walk.
That was a weird one.
Came in from a bit of an obscure angle. He actually went back to base earlier on, so he actually came in through the top half of the jungle.
Just casually wandering around.
Yep. But he is there to provide a bit of additional support. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late, as Stagos was forced to burn his flash after a good responding gank, counter gank even, coming out from Oddie. But then he burned his flash to actually set that one up. And if it wasn't for Kira landing that silence, he could have been in a bit more danger than he would have liked. But still, no kill just yet. Just a couple summoners burned.
That was actually very cute. Smurf just blind lunged into the brush and managed to stop her back.
You know, I feel like this is also the perfect champion for Saya as well, because something that we've seen a lot from him is that very carry style. He brought out the Echo on day 1. He's brought out the Syndra, the Cassio, the Vlad, the Lissandra, and now he's just adding another mid laner to his repertoire. He's like, guys, I can't play the same mid twice, you know? I don't want to give away secrets.
We also know that he's a Kassadin player, so it does like the assassin flavor there in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's glad to see that we are seeing more interesting. I'm just sad we didn't get to see a brand too.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh well, I guess, you know, Licorice does like to. He's got lick in his name.
We still have the best of 5.
It does make sense. That's true. That's true. The brand may make a comeback. And look, he might just be saying, look, no, guys, don't worry, I'm not going to be picking brand. Already knows that he's in the top 4, so trying to keep people on their toes.
They did say in an interview, though, we pick brand, we win the game.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, it's fairly obvious now. It's not like they're going to be hiding the cheeky brand pick.
Now, moving forward, where we're likely going to be seeing the action is around this Infernal Drake at about the 10-minute mark, because both teams have slightly more scaling compositions. The Kog'Maw is going to be wanting to pick up his Wit's End. I'm not entirely sure what the common build path is now for a Yasuo, because there's been quite a lot of variation. I have seen a couple of Phantom Dancers. Some have debated as to whether or not the Trinity Force is still worth it, seeing as the crit was removed. Infinity Edge is still going to be an insanely valuable item. I've even seen a couple of Ghost Blades on Yasuo purely for the flat attack damage and attack speed. But right now it looks like he's more prioritizing that early magic resistance, because he is going up against a Nidalee and a Malzahar. But pretty much everyone wants to play towards that 2-item power spike, so that dragon fight is largely going to be set up around who can get the early edge in the laning phase. So keep an eye out for the gank.
Flashes. Kira does set up for his jungler, but Stayos easily able to land that spear, but Stand United comes in, and Jarol, with an ultimate on him, is going to join the mid lane. Giant pink party.
So it looks like Albus, they tried to set themselves up for that successful laning phase. The flash ultimate in from Kira, demonstrating the kill threat that he has when his jungler arrives. Unfortunately for the duo pair, they did not quite have enough damage, especially with the Shenot coming in to provide a bit of backup as well. But now, that flash is gone for Seiya, and all they need is Kira's ultimate to come back up, and they can come for another sweep around attempt.
The other thing is that Kira's flash is also not up. So, of course, Oddie does have an opportunity, has hit level 6. That explosive cask is there. The classic Yasuo Gragas wombo.
If only we had a Malphite too.
I know. I know. It's okay. Jiral's going to be able to get some work done.
Oh, certainly.
May not necessarily look as flashy, but it'll definitely be good.
A player we haven't really talked much about, but really deserves a lot of praise because he has been a big contributor for Lyon's success. Many a time we've thought that, hey, if this guy wasn't in the game, then the outcome could have definitely been very different. And he's just been a very staple, solid performer up in the top lane and has really demonstrated that he is by far one of, if not the best top laner here in this tournament.
Yeah, and it's on the carry-style top lanes as well. I mean, things like the Aurelia that he's really shown phenomenal performances on. So knows that when it's up to him to win these games, he is certainly able to deliver. And Seiya just dancing around some Voidlings. Adorable. Taking a lot of damage, though. QSS actually already completed here by Seiya. So that was his rush, not the Hex Drinker.
Interesting.
Like I uninformedly assumed.
Well, I mean, it caught us both by surprise, to be honest. But he's definitely building around the fact that now at level... Once the level 6 mark was hit, we saw earlier on the threat that Kira posed in setting up for that gank. But now with that gone, all kill threat in the mid lane has dispersed because there is no follow-up CC from Stages. As we see Licrit coming in for a setup in bot.
Yeah, he's going to set up onto White Lotus there as the curtain call comes in, but he dodges all of the bullets so far. Good unbreakable there from Arce, who throws out the ultimate. Steos is going to get stunned, as so is Arce. Stands behind White Lotus, though, gets himself the heal as there's a flash body slam one more time. Knocked under the turret, and first blood goes to Arce. Lyon Gaming on the board already.
Fantastic response from White Lotus. He's able to avoid all of the skill shots coming out from the side of Albus NoX, and he's able to get away with his life. He had little to no mana, and if that exhaust had not come down, he may very well have been able to kill Stasios himself. Kira did try to rotate round to the bottom half of the map, but he could not get there in time. Oddie was the first to respond. He comes in with the flash body slam, gets the knock underneath the turret, and the first blood goes. We might see more action.
Yeah, Grand Challenge does go down, but Giral not going to die this time. And keeps hold of 3 of his weak points, so it should be fine. It's just ultimate down. Of course, Stand United back up as well, so he can leave the lane. Smurf, not a whole lot he can do about it.
Now, the Dragon still not really being contested around, which is somewhat surprising given how valuable the Infernal Drake is. But this is what we were talking about earlier on, which was very much about playing around these item spikes. Thanks to that first blow in the bottom lane, the Wit's End is now completed. So this will be a great opportunity for Lyon to start setting things up for that. Tracker's Knife has been finished for Oddie. We also have the Sight Stone on top of Arce. But it looks like the Albus are going to be actually the ones to pull the trigger first. Yeah,
already getting down here. They've got 4 members strong as Smurf's going to hold vigil towards the top side of the map. And this dragon is not long for the world. Remember, Infernal Drake, not a whole lot of health. Just does a fair bit of damage. And next dragon going to be that Cloud. But good lockdown by Albus NoX, who still have hold of the gold by about 100 at this stage, despite the first blood.
So taking advantage of the fact that Lyon had just gone back to base, White Lotus, he had to stick around in lane for a little while because the wave was pushing towards them. They had to clear that one out. Remember that Licrit had gone back to base because he had died, and so the moment that he had returned, Albus NoX said, hey, we have the numbers advantage. We can set this one up. Kira has the push in mid, so we can just rotate around and pick that one up for ourselves. So, honestly, good awareness from Albus to take advantage of that even after giving away first blood.
Yeah. Speaking of, Seiya picks himself up his Zeal, so heading towards most likely the Phantom Dancer. Pseudo-tankiness, as well as the crit that he so very much loves.
Oh, yeah. And the big question is, ooh, look at the bottom lane.
That W damage
is
ridiculous. Licrit almost kills a Miracle underneath the turret, and that kiting already just shows how dangerous Kog'Maw is in the hands of someone that can click their mouse way too many times.
That is the Wit's End power spike on
Yes,
Kog'Maw.
It is.
And it certainly does hurt. Giving away that first blood to him is really not going to be very beneficial. We see a lot of trading in the top lane between Smurf and Giral.
Yeah, Giral actually getting the better of it, though. Smurf, not with a large health pool, but does, of course, have his Corrupting Potion there, so we should be able to get it back. Doesn't have the Vampiric Scepter yet, though, so lacking a little bit of the sustain.
It's unfortunate for Lyon right now because they actually have a lot of kill pressure bot. But if they go for the all-in, all of the summoners are available for Miracle. There are no summoners available for White Lotus. So if they overcommit, then there's the risk of Stagers coming in from the flank and punishing them for actually going for that setup. But here we go.
Yeah, there's the consumers. Liquid has to run away. Does get ulted up. And there it is. Jiral's able to pick up that kill. You can see Grand Challenge was down, but there's not a whole lot that anyone can do because, of course, the Fiora is on the other side of the map. Curtain call just as a formality at this stage. He's held on to it. Last bullet lands onto Oddie. But Lyon get another kill all too easily.
Oddie still has his ultimate available. Bear that in mind. Seiya is moving around. They could look to set up for a dive, given that A Miracle is fairly low. But good rotation coming down from Kira. He's going to provide enough wave clear to stymie the push from Lyon. But it will still force the teleport out from Jural. Regardless, the whole play itself was very promising. Using the ultimate to guarantee the kill down onto Liquid. Right now, Lyon are just trying to net whatever early advantage they can. It's not resulting in a massive gold lead, but it is certainly enabling this Kog'Maw to go through what should be a rough laning phase.
Yeah. And actually, I do want to talk to you about this, because I like to get the opinions of every color caster that I'm with. But Kog'Maw build, what is your personal favorite 3-item set for Kog'Maw?
3-item set?
Yeah.
Wit's End, Rage Blades, and...
That's my boy.
Probably... Ooh, what's the third?
Well, it's got to
item?
be Runon's Hurricane, right?
Ah, the Hurricane, yes,
I just
course.
needed you to say Ginsu's. That's all I needed. And I just realized that, you know, this is why we're casting together right now. Because you say the right builds.
R.A.P. Spawn. But, yeah, I'm still fascinated by what this Yasuo is going to go, because there are so many alternative builds, and it's shifted so much that... I mean, the biggest problem that Yasuo has is you will see later on in these teamfights that an Exhaust is very good at shutting him down. Obviously, because he's melee, he has to be within range of the support. It's very easy to get the stacks of Acquired Taste on top of you. It's easy to land the CC down. The Exhaust is really what's going to mitigate a lot of his damage, and he's really going to struggle. Also, you can just stack armor. Obviously, there will be a lot of magic damage coming out from the Kog'Maw, as you mentioned earlier on. But still, if you're mid laner, it can't really pose much of a threat come the late game in a side lane, then you have to wonder how effective this pick will be.
Well, of course, may just need to use his ultimate, you know, early and often to make sure that he gets that 50% armor penetration. You're exactly right. It's going to be hard, especially when Smurf is able to get tanky, Liquid as well. But they don't necessarily have a dedicated hard tank over the side of Albus NoX. As Steos looking for Arce. Deadly Flourish doesn't find him, so not going to get stunned up. And actually trying to turn this one around. Liquid has to use the Consumers. Kira, no more shield. Does have to ghost himself.
That was very close. There was one more stack that was needed to proc the stun. Unfortunately, White Lotus was just out of range. His W had just come off cooldown, so he wasn't quite able to set that one up. But you can see now Stage is really struggling to find an opportunity, and this is why we were a little bit confused in Champions Select as to why this was high on the priority, given that Elise, Gragas, these were all champions that were available. Albus could have looked to prioritize them. They would have had a good front line. They would have had a good engage, and they decided not to go for it. And given as to how Stage just likes to be aggressive in the early game, he's not really having many opportunities because there is no setup in his lanes for this Nidalee to be as effective as they would have liked.
Well, of course, still only 17 minutes into this game. Steos can get himself another couple of items, maybe start moving around. But you're right, it feels like time is running out just a little bit because, you know, Nidalee does need to get work done, shutting down his opponent. And you can see Oddie not shut down. He's actually ahead.
Remotely.
So...
He's gotten more ganks off than Stagers. He's been involved in every single kill on the board right now. He's matching him in farm. He's completed his first jungle item, working towards what is likely going to be a little bit more tankiness next up. But I mean, so far, everything is going the way they want it for Lyon. But
he's kind of like that guy that wakes up too early, you know, and just gets a whole lot of stuff done, and then you feel guilty when you wake up afterwards.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, you know.
It's just like, how can you be so productive?
Exactly. It's like, I just want to chill for a moment. Says PvP Steos, but no, it's not happening. And the Gragas, who should be getting out-farmed, is currently ahead by about 5. That is the Phantom Dancer done here for Seiya as well. We're going to continue shoving things out. Steos back onto the Dragon. Of course, did take a fair bit of time to do that, as there's the flash from Kira, respecting Oddie, even though the shield was available. Understand now, only lasts for 0.25 seconds, so can layer that CC quite effectively. Spear doesn't hit the Fat Man.
But now Steos, he's forced to back off the Dragon. He tried to do it solo. Thought that he had full vision control, but he didn't spot the ward that is right next to his blue buff. And now Lyon, if they should want to, they could easily rotate around to it. They have the priority down in bot lane. They have the shove up in mid. Kira has been forced to use his flash. And so everything is available for Lyon. They also have the ultimate from Giral if things should go wrong. So I'm surprised that Lyon are putting such little value. Even though it's a Cloud Drake, it's still a free objective. And if you take it off the board, it could be an Infernal next on the board.
Well, Oddie's going to get hit by a spear, was found out as White Lotus once again gets a lot of damage down onto A Miracle, but thankfully the consume's there. Licorice gets his AD carry to safety. Teleport. Both of them used actually to get back towards the top side, meaning Giral does have the mobility advantage on this Shen. Can stand united onto someone, but you have to think that that turret will not last long against Smurf.
Now we're approaching the 20-minute mark, and things aren't dead even. Somewhat expected in a sense, because we have two scaling compositions and we also have two teams that initially we expected to be the top two teams in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
And right now, Albus NoX just fighting for an opportunity to avoid Lyon in the playoffs and make their way into that third seed so that they can play up against INTZ, which, I mean, if I was Albus NoX, I think I'd prefer going up against INTZ given Lyon's performance so far. But yes. Albus, they haven't fallen way to the early aggression that Lyon have often demonstrated. They haven't given away any massive leads. Even though they are 2 kills down, both those kills are onto Licorice, which is still the support. He can still offer value even if he's 0 and 5. So
also means that they haven't denied farm from any of the solo laners or carries from this Albus NoX side. So you're exactly right. That's why we're seeing that the gold is so incredibly close. And remember, that's an Infernal Drake done by Albus NoX. So theoretically, I mean, I'd value that at higher than 400 gold.
Oh, yeah, exactly that. So the question is right now, can Oddie get a gank up in the top lane? They're just going to get a flash. But this could mean another Drake going over to Albus NoX. They've identified jungler in the top half of the map. Mals can just clear out the wave. They can rotate around, or they might not even need it. Stadia should be able to solo this one.
We can see Arce is actually moving around. We'll see whether he gets the ward over as Saya's just dancing through Voidlings once again. Knocks them all up into the sky. We'll now move up top as Licorice is going to come down and help his jungler. So Cloud Drake is going to be taken. 20 minutes into this game. Next one's going to be an Infernal. We'll see whether Lyon fight for that one.
They should, given as to how powerful their team fighting is. But so far, Lyon have put very little value on setting up for this dragon, which, in a sense, is rational because your team composition isn't that strong yet. The Yasuo hasn't hit his 2-item spike. The Kog'Maw is very powerful with the Wit's End and Rune's Hurricane completed, but they're a little bit worried as to what Smurf is doing up on the top half of the map, that they don't want to consistently draw Giral away. So right now they're okay with giving away these objectives, but once Saya works towards that second item, this is where we should start to see a little bit more action. It looks like he's picking up a Phage, which means that he could go towards the Trinity Force, or he's going to work towards that Black Cleaver.
That'd be interesting.
Would be interesting. I expect more so the Trinity Force. Even though the crit is gone, you still get a lot of valuable stats from it. But we'll have to see. And then it is almost certainly going to be an Infinity Edge third, because you have to fit that somewhere into your repertoire.
I'd love to see the Black Cleaver, because I feel like, if you stack up your ultimate plus a Black Cleaver, you don't need to care about anyone's armor because you've got about 90% armor penetration at that stage.
Full armor pen build.
Yeah.
You could throw in a...
Not sure whether it stacks like that, but I don't know. I want to believe that it does. As White Lotus throws down the heal, he gets stunned by the W out of Jhin, but no follow-up to come down. Lyon's bottom lane just slink away.
Now, I believe the Yasuo ultimate gives you 50 flat armor penetration, right?
50%, I'm pretty sure.
50%.
Yeah.
See now, what Black Cleaver does is it reduces your target's armor by a percentage per stack.
Yeah.
So they should stack with each other. Yeah. Because a target's armor will get reduced, and then the percentage armor penetration that you have, thanks to your ultimate, will then shred through even more armor.
Just wondering whether it's multiplicative or not, as A Miracle takes so much damage. The consume comes in once again in the nick of time from Licorice, but A Miracle can't be going toe-to-toe with the Arcane Barrage Kog'Maw. You just can't do that. Wait till his W's not there.
And now, Albus NoX are being forced away from this turret because Oddie, he's hanging around the flank. He is setting up for a potential dive. Kira is trying to move around to provide assistance, but honestly, White Lotus and Arce are just way too strong right now, slowly working their way through this turret. Just so much pressure being put onto the bottom half of the map. But note, just keep an eye on the minimap. Look at the top side. Smurf is constantly shoving this Shen underneath the turret. He's saying, hey, if you ultimate away, I'm going to take your turret, and I'm going to get that first blood turret, first blood gold even, that you do not want to lose. So it's sort of it's one of those calling you out situations where, hey, you can make a play on the bottom half of the map, that's fine, but you will get punished for it.
Just do it, man. Just do it. I'm not bothered. I'm just going to be able to take half of your map. As now actually heading past the turret is Smurf, looking to try and dirty farm, while Jiral's taking care of some minions.
2 items now finished, both the Black Cleaver and the Ravenous Hydra. This is where a Fiora truly comes online, and this is the point at which White Lotus needs to be a little bit scared. And I'm just really excited for these next 2 team fights coming out, because it is going to be very much about how Smurf, how easily he can get onto the back line. And honestly, the target focus coming out from Kira as Audi setting up down the bottom lane.
Lion's underneath the turret once again. And Kira ghosting himself down. This guy uses Ghost as a transportation method more often than I've seen him use it in any sort of defensive or offensive fashion in a lane. He just uses it to traverse the map. I like it a lot. I personally use it to get back from base.
It's efficiency.
It's basically a low cooldown teleport, my friend.
Oh, man.
Smurf actually looking to take down this turret. Will do it. 650 gold for the Fiora. That is a big deal. That is our first quite large swing going in favor of Albus NoX. Is now Kira looking to try and put another nail in there, but not able to.
The thing is, Lyon have put so much attention on trying to take down this tier 1 in the bottom lane first that they've disregarded the top half of the map. What they could have done is, with their advantage that they had accrued, they actually could have gone for a swap. They could have looked to send their bottom lane to the top half of the map, bring Audi with you. You look to set up either a dive onto Smurf, or you just catch him unawares and you get a successful gank off, and then you can take that top tier 1 down as the first blood, because you know that that turret is eventually going to go down with Smurf's relentless pushing. And you also know that you're not really going to be able to take down the tier 1 in the bottom, because you have the wave clear from Liquid, you have the wave clear from Miracle, and if Stasios is hanging around as well, then that's 3 members just sitting there defending the turret 3-on-3. So sure, you can get slow chip damage down, but it's never going to result in anything. And honestly, I feel like this is Lyon missing out on an opportunity where they really could have built themselves up that gold lead.
I agree with you. Well, Saya does go back, grabs himself his Trinity Force, so you're exactly right on that one. I was excited by a potential Black Cleaver, but I'm pretty sure I was told exactly why it's bad, and it's because it's got 20% cooldown reduction, and you literally do not need that stat. It's a waste of time.
Makes sense.
So you pay a fair bit for the old CDR, and you definitely do not need it. So that makes some sense. I was just thinking purely about the armor pen and got very excited about it, as there's a body slam under Staios. Liquid was there with a potential consume, as there's the ultimate from Audi. Not quite in range of the last breath if Saya was looking to try and come in. So a little bit of a waste. Testing the waters, perhaps.
But now everyone's on their 2-item power spikes, Atlas. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Will the teams actually look to fight? Because there's a lot of posturing around this dragon. It is literally about to spawn, and they've caught Stasios.
Yeah, he's going to get knocked up into the air. Flashes over as Saya's going to get right in amongst it as well. Stacks are down. So the Tahm Kench could have eaten the Yasuo, but decides not to. Jiral now just looking to try and defend this turret. Smurf underneath. As now Lyon looking to take down their first dragon of the game, but that's not what Albus want. They are able to lock it down, but are they going to survive? As White Lotus is going to fall first. The Acathian surprise should do some work as Saya trying to get around this one. He is going to be able to pick 1 kill up. There's 2, but Saya's going to fall. It's going to be Smurf picking it up after teleporting in. And it's a 3-for-2 trade, although the dragon goes to Lyon.
Lyon had invested so many resources into trying to get the kill down onto Stasios, but they could not do it. The flash was gone from Saya, the ignite was gone from Stasios, and bear in mind, Smurf was just consistently pushing in the top lane. This made it so difficult for Jiral to get involved in that fight. Honestly, Lyon, they set up for the dragon in a way initially that they wanted to, but their execution just was not on point. Albus were able to capitalize, and they are getting objectives all across the map.
That's about a 3,000 gold lead now off that. So the dragon may have fallen in favor of Lyon, but everything else goes in favor of Albus NoX. And let's have a look at this one again. It was just a melting pot.
Look at how quickly White Lotus died. Gerald just could not get into the fray fast enough to provide the support that he needed. You had Jin from the backside dealing all this free damage. Kira was completely untouched in that whole exchange. And short Lyon, you get yourselves the dragon, but what does it cost you? Because you had an extremely powerful Kog'Maw being forced into this tiny area where the Malzahar and Jin just had free reign to do with whatever they wanted with you. And honestly, it just turned into disarray, and Lyon ended up falling in that team fight.
It certainly did. Smurf now looking for his Bloodthirster, very close to it as well. BF Sword and the Vampiric Scepter done. Now going to head back up top, continue pressuring this one out.
Look at that Malzahar.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Already 3 items done. One thing I do want everyone to note is the CS. It's 28 minutes into the game, and you've got multiple people sitting on the clock. Like, everyone. There's a 40 CS lead on the top side of the map, but that is because the freaking Fiora is like 30 ahead of the clock. It's not because Jiral's been farming badly necessarily. It's just the fact that everyone has really been getting their agriculture on this particular game.
Honestly, like, we've had 2 incredible teams going up against each other. I feel as though Albus NoX, I still feel as though they're our second strongest team right now in the International Wildcard, but it is their own fault for losing to Tark Passage in very surprising fashion.
And I just love the poetry of the fact that, you know, they are remembering that game. Yeah. So they're going to pick the Fiora and say, well, yeah, you might have this cool team composition with your double walls and your Kog'Maw comp, but we've got a Fiora who's going to take your base while you try and get that team fight happening.
Yep. And honestly, the split push pressure from Albus is ridiculous. 29 minutes, already level 17 on the Fiora, 17 on the Malzahar. This late game point is being reached extremely quickly.
This game has been accelerated to no end. It's like all of a sudden we're past the mid game. As Jiral's getting dove underneath his turret, Smurf says, well, I didn't really do very much damage there, did I? So he's going to back away.
Smurf not properly playing around the Spirit's Refuge of the Shen. Means that he did little to no damage, but now it's moving to the bot half. I feel like we're getting to the point where you have to put Sayer up against Smurf. In terms of the 1v1...
Would that be a good idea?
I feel like it's very skill matchup reliant, but the fact that no Infinity Edge is completed for Sayer, it would go in favor of Smurf at this point in the game, but perhaps at 3 items, it would swing towards the Yasuo. It's extremely difficult to say. I honestly can't tell you... that I've seen that matchup recently, because Yasuo is not a common pick, but I imagine that it would be very skill-intensive, because you'd have to dodge the right things at the right time, the riposte would be important, you'd have to guarantee that you get the knock-up onto the Fiora, you'd have to time your flow bar accurately, so you want to try and maximize your shield. There are just so many small details that would go into it, but I think it would certainly be an exciting 1v1 to watch.
I just feel like Fiora being the grand duelist, you know, being a duelist in general, means that she's probably good in a 1v1.
But it would be a battle of swordsmen, wouldn't it?
It would.
And, I mean, if he has an Infinity Edge, it might just be a matter if he hits you in the face and crits all the time.
As White Lotus is going to get pinged on the top side of the map. Curtain Call is most certainly curtains for the Kog'Maw. As now you've got a follow-up coming in. Abyssal Voyage comes down, and Arcee's going to get caught out. Kira locks him down. It's now 5-4 in favor of Albus NoX, and this Lyon composition is falling apart.
White Lotus getting caught out of position, very uncharacteristic of him. But bear in mind, this late game has been accelerated. Albus are taking down this Baron incredibly quickly.
Yeah, the teleport going to come in for insurance on the side of Smurf. This Baron already at a sliver of health, and it is going to be PvP Steos that takes it down all too easy, and the Purple Worm falls. Lyon Gaming trying to get something off this as they move towards the mid lane. Back's actually not going to come in from Albus NoX. They're going to move top side, push that one out, and give away this outer turret in the mid lane. So nice work picking up an objective, but it's still 5,000 gold the lead for Albus NoX, and they just seem to have the answers where Lyon don't.
It all stemmed from that play up in the top lane. Not entirely sure how White Lotus ended up getting caught out of position, but what it looked like was Arsa went around to get some vision in the tri-bush. White Lotus overextended in the top half. They get a bit of damage down, and then Miracle, I don't believe he even needed to use that 4th shot to get himself the kill. So, honestly, just likely to be a big misplay coming out from White Lotus, which ended up resulting in a Baron for Albus NoX. And now Now you can set up for a 1-4. You have the Fiora, who is unkillable with the Baron buff. You can just leave her in a side lane. There's no way that the Shen can deal with it. You can group up as a 4-man unit. You have insane pick potential, insane poke damage, and now you're going to look for another one.
Yeah, and Oddie is going to find it as well. The Nethergrass comes in. The ultimate comes down from Arce, but look at this. Kira just melts through them. This guy's got 3.5 items already, and that looked like mostly the Malzahar as White Lotus trying to kite it out. Good flash gets him over the side, but look at that damage from the Malefic Visions. Wanders over a trap. As there's PvP Steos, just picks up the kill by pouncing over the wall and will follow it up with a dragon. Albus NoX, I don't know what they had for breakfast this morning, but it must have been delicious as Gerald's getting dove. Good flash as Smurf still hunting. And Saya's going to turn up as well. You're going to see that jewel that you were talking about before as Stands United comes down as well. This is unfair as Smurf will fall after the taunt connects. Lyon do manage to pick up the top laner, but there goes the bottom inhibitor turret. And talk about counter siege. Doesn't even matter as now Saya's going aggressive. He's looking for a miracle who throws it down but does get body slammed. And Gerald doesn't find the taunt. Saya still just dancing around this team fight. Doesn't get the knock up though. A miracle still able to press forward and Gerald's going to fall down. Seos picks that one up as Saya doesn't decide to pull the trigger on the ultimate. And this inhibitor going to be the next target. I'll say throwing forward the Winter's Bite. White Lotus has respawned. Looking to try and get some kills here. The inhibitor holds on with a sliver. As the Baron buff minions probably not going to make it to take that one down. Lyon holding onto their base, but it's in tatters at this stage.
And Albus NoX just snowballing their lead out of control. Lyon have little to no answers. And in all honesty, I feel like this whole game has been very much about a very slow laning phase where Lyon have looked to try and punish a mistake from Albus, but it has only been Lyon that's making the mistakes. Albus have been constantly looking for objectives to play around. This Fiora has gradually been scaling up. She's been drawing pressure to the top half of the map. Albus have been taking advantage of that, and then they've just been setting up picks for themselves. They get the pick down onto Cogmore, they get a pick down onto Saya, and they've just been constantly proactive on the map that has been allowing them to build up this 9,000 gold lead. Honestly, just incredible performance from Albus NoX.
Just out of nowhere as well. I mean, where did 9,000 come from? They've got
9
4
kills.
items on everyone, basically. You've got 4 items on Smurf on the top side of the map, not including Boots, of course, with the Guardian Angel, Black Cleaver, Bloodthirster, and Ravenous Hydra. And you've got the perfect 4 picked up by Kira, who just finished the Leandri's Torment on top of everything else. And PvP Styles just casually from the jungle only has 1 item slot left.
Yep. And, I mean, he can build whatever he wants. He could be hyper-aggressive and go Rabadon's Death Cap.
Oh, yeah, that's the dream.
That's the badger.
I'd be disappointed if he picked up anything else. Unless it's a pink ward, which is probably a good idea.
Nah, who needs wards at this point in the game?
You're my kind of color cast, my friend. That's what yours.
Ult in the mid lane.
Gerald is getting taken down very low. Does get the taunt off, looking for the Malzahar, but doesn't find it. Liquor with the consume is able to save him. PvP Steos gets knocked up, but not ulted. Saya holds onto it. Inhibitor just falls as Smurf is being unchecked on the bottom side of the map. Lyon just realized, well, there's not a whole lot we can do there. So hopefully, if they ignore it, the problem will go away. I'll tell you from experience, that does not work.
Here we go, 2v1 Smurf.
Yeah, the taunt does go down. Decent riposte, but there's the ultimate, and Smurf may need to go down to this GA. Will do so, as Saya, with that grand challenge on top of him, might fall down. Oh my goodness, that was close. As Gerald, I think, burnt him to death with a Sunfire Cape.
That was insanely close. Almost being able to win out on the 2 versus 1. But Albus, they missed an opportunity. They had 4 members strong in the mid lane. Unfortunately, Kira did not have his ultimate, so they couldn't properly set up for the dive, which means that that turret will still live on. They do get an inhibitor down the bottom lane, but Lyon desperately doing whatever they can to stay in this game.
And remember, they do have the late game insurance policy of the Cogmore.
Oh, yeah.
It's not lights out yet.
There's Infinity Edge. There's the Rage Blade.
Yeah, And look, when the game's been accelerated this much, I mean, what is it? It's only like you're going to run out of item slots on the side of Albus NoX. They're almost run out already. There's only 1 item for most of their players to pick up.
Look at that needlessly large rod being picked up for
stages. Beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Lovely.
This is what we cast for, isn't it?
It's exactly
this is the feeling.
To become a full-fledged wizard is every man's dream.
Oh, he's got his timepiece. He's got 2 canes. just to work out which one of them also needlessly large at this stage, but will be a hat sometime around.
And meanwhile, Kira, his blueberry pies are really packing quite the punch at this point.
They certainly are.
He's got his recipe book. He's got the Leandry's Torment to spice things up a little bit.
Burning face.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it adds flavor, you know?
Yeah, also, intimidates your opponent, which is basically what he does. He just looks at people for a long time, and
Precisely.
They can't move, and then they die.
It's how he wins the staring contest, you know? If you have a scary face on, you have to blink.
Well, there it is again, as Oddie's going to get stunned by every different source. Stange United goes down on top of him, but he might just melt to death. Good shields come in. He's going to try and drink his way out of it. As there's the wind wall stopping that curtain call, but it's not going to stop the last bullet. Arce has to flash. There's the QSS and everything from White Lotus, but he's hit by that spear, and Kira locks down the kill. Arce very, very low as Saya tries to save himself, but it's the double for the Malzahar, whose disease is tearing people apart. And in the meantime, Smurf says, I don't even care where my team is. I'm just going to kill your base. As he's now hunting under Nexus turrets. They're starting to fall down. The first one goes. A Miracle casually has a heck of a lot of damage to chunk through these turrets. Nexus exposed. And Albus NoX Luna put the first victory into Lyon Gaming for this entire season.
I mean,
what a game.
What a way to lose if you're Lyon Gaming right now. Because you go undefeated for an entire split. You go 6-0 during the IWCQ tournament.
Yeah.
And then you lose because you picked Yasuo.
Is that why they lost, though?
Well,
I like to think that, okay, yeah, no, it didn't necessarily work out all that well, did it?
I mean,